Hello?
Hi everyone, can you hear me?
Hi, I can hear you. I can't see you, but I can hear your voice.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Gadi. Hello everyone. My name is Catherine Bonner. I'm serving as your Secretary General for WIMUN India 2016. Just a few notes before your committee secretary, Gadi, begins. I know many of you have questions about position papers. We have pushed back the deadline for those to give you more time to prepare until April 26th. You'll find the structure for the position papers in the delegate guide, which is on the WIMUN India website. So you can go to wimun.org/India, go to the committees and councils page, and in the delegate guide, you'll find the structure. For those position papers, we've also sent that to you via email and MyMun, so you can find it there too. If you have any questions during this call, you can contribute them to the chat on the right side of this broadcast, and we'll make sure to answer them at the end. Or if you're unable to share in the chat, you can send any questions to sg.wimun.india@gmail.com, and we'll make sure that they're answered as well. Also, we know that some of you were concerned about not getting time with your secretary at conference to help you prepare both with content and procedure. Not only will we be having training for the first part of conference to help equip you with the procedural knowledge you'll need for WIMUN, but we'll also have some preparation time where you'll get to specifically speak with your secretary in order to better equip you for debate during conference. So at this point, I'll go ahead and turn over the conversation to your secretary, Gadi Dreyfus, who will guide you through your webinar today. Thank you, guys.
Hey, Catherine.
Hey, Gadi. Feel free to start whenever you're ready.
Perfect. Okay, it just loaded. I'm going to figure out how to share my screen. Hey, Catherine.
Hey, Gadi. Feel free to start whenever you're ready.
Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and start. My name is Gadi Dreyfus. I am calling from Gainesville, Florida. I go to the University of Florida here, and I study geography and geomatics. I'm excited to be your secretary, and I'm looking forward to going to India. It's going to be a fantastic conference, and I can't wait to hear everything you guys have prepared. So I'm going to start, and I really can't tell if you can see my screen, but I wanted to go over just a brief overview of the committee and what the fourth committee does, who they are, and what the issues are that we're going to be focusing on during our time in Agra. So the fourth committee is also known as the Special Political and Decolonization Committee. It's the fourth committee of the General Assembly at the United Nations. And our main issue that we're going to be focusing on is peacekeeping operations. The agenda item is in the most recent agenda, and we'll go through this a little bit later. But the official title is the comprehensive review of the whole question of peacekeeping operations and all their aspects. So it's intentionally broad, and it allows us to focus on really whatever interests us, and it allows your country to speak out if there's a specific issue that they feel strongly about. A few of the main logistical things that this committee is involved in is field support. Okay, is field support. There's a lot of discussion now on the inter versus intra-state conflict. So conflicts between two nations, and then conflicts between a single state, within a single state. And there's also a huge push in the United Nations to mainstream all of the peacekeeping operations. They operate in many of the countries all over the world, and they have over 100,000 employees or people working with them and for them. So this is a huge operation, and it takes a lot of logistical support to operate, not only to get people on the ground, but to really effectively enact that change. All right. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to just post them on the right-hand side. And I'm going to try and get the screen share so that you guys can see what I'm doing. It's the green symbol on the left. Perfect. Okay. Wonderful. Okay. Can I get a confirmation that it's shared? It should say major hurdles and topics.
Yep, we've got it, Gotti. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay. So I wanted to talk to you guys first about principles. These are things to remember when you begin your research and when you think about what we're going to be discussing and the context in which we can discuss these issues. So the principles that our committee functions under or over are the consent of all of the parties involved. There has to be a push for impartiality. So remember this when you're writing or when you're thinking about writing a resolution. Although your country might have obviously a bias, when talking about the United Nations, we need to make this objective, and the United Nations must be impartial. In addition, there has to be non-use of force, except when there is self-defense and a defense of the mandate. What this means is that the United Nations does not take sides, and they will not go in and actively fight for a certain cause. They'll only prevent if they'll defend themselves if attacked preemptively. Okay. Next, this is something that I would like to see the committee guide towards. I know that the question is extremely broad, so it is up for interpretation, but at least in my case, I thought this would be a really great opportunity to take some of the cases of the past, apply them to the present, and then come up with a framework for how the UN should operate in the future. And like I was saying before, there is this big discussion going on right now about whether the UN should be involved in only international conflicts, or if its role, and specifically its role in peacekeeping, has a place in, say, civil wars or conflicts within member states. Okay, for example, the UN was involved in Somalia's civil war. This was an instance where the UN went in and had the peacekeeping operation and still operates in Somalia, but does not involve multiple nations. It's all within the country of Somalia. A different case of international peacekeeping operations, and you might be familiar with it, it was in the Secretary General report that I wrote, is the instance between Israel and Lebanon and Palestine, where the UN has an official presence in the region and mediates a lot of the discussions or flare-ups that happen between the two countries, and that would be an example of international conflict. In India, you might be familiar with India and Pakistan, where the UN again has a permanent presence on the border. The second issue that I was mentioning before is field support and logistics. So the Department of Field Support was recently created to mainstream all of these efforts that happen across multiple UN committees and multiple UN operations to have one goal, and that is to keep the peace. I've included this link here, and I think what I'll do is I'll upload this document to Google and I'll share it with you guys so you have all of these links. But in addition, these links can be found in the report. I'm just going to go through them and give you a little bit of background on what each one entails and how you can use it to help your research and guide your research to write a really stellar position paper that you can back up once we're in India. So the Department of Field Support has this wonderful website, and I will go there now and show you guys what this is all about. Okay, so here what they've done is they have this handy dandy website, and it gives you a lot of information simply on what field support is and how it operates. You can go into depth in this peacekeeping operations tab, and you can find a lot of information here, and it will describe a little bit about how it is broken down. It's very contextual, so this is going to help you understand how a UN peacekeeping operation goes from idea to action and how they actually solve the issues brought up in resolutions. Okay. All right. Next, I'm going to talk, those are the general topics that I think would be a great way to guide this research and to guide our discussions in India. Of course, because the question is so broad, and if your country has a specific and strong stance on the issue, feel free to bring it up. But again, I think because it is so broad, it will really help us to stay relatively focused so that we can come up with a powerful resolution that is both pointed and purposeful. Okay, so to start off your research, I'm going to show you guys, and I'm first going to start off with context to give you a background, and then once you're understanding the issue a little bit more of peacekeeping, you can go into exactly what your country, you can do country research, but it's really important, and I can't emphasize this enough, to know the issue well before you start researching what your country believes, because if you do it the other way around, you're going to get very confused in terms of references that your country's statements or the political blocks that your country is associated with are making, and you're not going to be able to connect the dots as easily. And I will give you guys these links. They're in the Secretary General report, but Catherine and I can get the PowerPoint out to you guys so you have it in this format that we're reviewing here. This is a great website to get the facts down. And what I really like about it is that if you go here, it gives you a history of all of the UN peacekeeping operations throughout history. So if you hear of one or you read one, and usually they'll be identified by their acronyms, you're able to go here and learn a little bit more about them and get some details. Each one will be redirected to its own website. And here you can find, obviously, resolution numbers and backgrounds, a lot of this valuable information. If your country is specifically involved, for example, let's say your country is the Central African Republic. This is going to be extremely important to you because it obviously affects your country directly. Okay. The next thing I wanted to share with you guys, the next link, is here. So once you've done your contextual research and you know a little bit about the issue, I really encourage you guys to go to this website. Okay. This is the website where they have all of the information regarding agendas in the 70th regular session, which is the most recent meeting of the General Assembly. It's where, if you need the most up-to-date information, you can go and find agenda items, which will then link to every other resolution in the past that is being referenced. Because there is so much information, I'd really encourage you not to go through and read every single meeting minute since the founding of the United Nations. I think if you were to go and work backwards, so if you go to the 70th session and you'd like to know more about the context of the past few years, that would be really purposeful and productive, but you don't need to go back and read, say, the minutes of the 50th session, because they're going to bring those up, and if there's something that wasn't resolved, then they'll talk about it again and again, and they will even, and I'll show you in a minute, put links into the document that will allow you to be redirected automatically to those places. Okay. Something really, really important too, and this is unique to our committee, is that at the United Nations, they work on strict deadlines, and it just so happens that ours was not added to the original agenda, and we call this an addendum. It was added, and it's right here, where it's an annotated preliminary list of items to be included in the provisional agenda. And so what happened was they submitted their original agenda without our bullet point, without our agenda item. And so this was added in afterwards, and it's really important that you not go here and that you go here to this add one. And the reason is because if you go here, you're not going to find our question, and you might get very confused as to why we are discussing a topic that isn't being discussed at the actual UN. But what happened is that it was added on afterwards, and so you have to go here. Great. Another thing to note is that this is going to have all of the information for the entire General Assembly. This is not all relevant to us. We need to find specifically our question, and you'll see here that it is B56. This means that it is agenda item 56, but remember that because the agenda items change throughout the years, because this is the 70th session, it will be number 56, but if you look back at previous years, it will not be under this number. So if you go to the 68th session or the 69th session, it will not be under B56. You'll have to find the question, the agenda title again. That's super critical that you know that, because I don't want you to get confused in your research and not be able to find the question because of that. So again, we're going to go down to page 8, and I can show you guys what this looks like. Okay, so this is what the agenda item looks like, and you can see here the title, obviously, and it tells you a little bit about the history of the peacekeeping operations, but the real meat is here. What they've done is they've done all of the difficult research for you. What they've done is they've compiled a list of every single resolution that's mentioned or that's discussed this peacekeeping operation agenda item. So this is going to be really helpful for you in going back to previous resolutions and previous meeting minutes and statements from countries to find out more about the general issue, but also about what your country believes. Oh, I clicked the link too soon. All right. You can't see them here because they're not blue hyperlinked, but if I hover my mouse over here, and this will be more evident if you download the Word document over here, they'll light up blue, and you can really see exactly what's a link and what isn't. But what will happen is that you can find, say, the resolution. Okay, so it doesn't work from the PDF, but if you download the Word document, it will be a blue hyperlink, and you'll be able to click that, and it will lead you directly to the resolutions. Okay. And again, if you guys have any questions, just post them on the right-hand corner, and I can address them as I go. All right. This is one of my favorite tools. It's called PaperSmart. Yeah, it's called PaperSmart. And what the UN has done is they've compiled all of these documents into a really easy to find, really easy to search format. Let me show you what I'm talking about. All right. So if you follow this link, you will find is a summary of the Fourth Committee in the 70th session of all of this great information. Remember, though, that we are only looking for our agenda item. Obviously, a lot was discussed in the Fourth Committee in the 70th session, so it's important to narrow down the issues only to what we'd like to find. So you're going to go to Agenda, scroll down to find ours, and again, remember that's item 56, and because it's the 70th session, it has the same agenda item number, but that is not the case throughout history. So if you go back to the 69th and the 68th session, and before that, it's going to be under a different item number. The item number changes every year. Okay, you're going to click on Related Statements, and this is going to be the easiest way for you guys to find information about your specific countries and statements that they've made on this particular issue, on this agenda item. So it says there are 62 statements. That gives you a lot of options. So depending on what your country is, you'll be able to go in and find it. Something also really important is that if you don't find your specific country here, that's okay. What will happen a lot of times is that a country will go up to speak, and they will speak on behalf not only of themselves, but of a greater political bloc. So here, for example, Ecuador has gone up to speak, but they went up to speak on behalf of CELAC, which means that if your country is in CELAC, you can use Ecuador's statement as if it is your country is agreeing to that statement, so you can use it to form your position, which you'll write in your position paper. In addition, you have country statements from the European Union. So if you are a country that is within the EU, you can use this statement, and although it isn't specifically for your country, you can use this as the basis to form your position paper and to form your position and to understand a little bit more about where your country falls. Some of them, though, and it's important to note, won't have that addition. So for this one, the statement by Singapore, they're not speaking on behalf of anyone. And so if you are not Singapore, I would suggest not using. It would be important to read, but not to use this this statement by the country, because they aren't speaking on behalf of your country that is not Singapore. Okay. I have only a few more things that I wanted to share with you guys. And again, if you have questions, just let me know. Okay. And again, this is located in the further resource section of the Secretary General report that is published online, and that you should definitely be using for your research, just as to get you going, not for specific country research, but just in general. This is a document that was published recently by the United Nations. It's called the Capstone Doctrine, and it's a really long document, but they have a nice table of contents, so you're able to sort through information easily. And I'm going to show you what this document does, because it aggregates a lot of information for both context and specific to countries and specific missions into one document. So it will allow you to streamline a lot of your research and understand in the broader sense what's going on. Right. So as you can see, it's a long document, but don't worry. Like I said before, there's this really great table of contents. So let's say you wanted to write in your position paper a little bit more about field support. You would be able to go into this document, for example, go to chapter, say, 9, and you could find out what goes into supporting a mission while it's in said country. Let's say, for example, and chapter 8 as well. It's pretty self-explanatory, but again, I wanted to point you towards here directly because it's such a great resource. I see here too, if you go to page 94, here we go. So when we read resolution, UN documents and statements, they'll use a lot of acronyms. And I know, even as someone that reads a lot of these resolutions and a lot of these documents, I don't know all of the acronyms. But this is a nice place that you can go, and if you don't understand what a certain acronym or even word is, you can go here and it will describe it. Obviously, you can plug this into Google and but again, this will be really helpful in forming your position and understanding more about the issues when you're conducting your research. Great document. I wanted to just give you some links for general research. This is one on soldier accountability, so something that isn't necessarily our focus of the discussion, but again, if your country has a specific statement on this, then it's something that you can 100%, not only can you, but you should bring up at the conference, because if it is an issue important to your country, you need to make sure that it is being represented in your position paper and that other countries are aware that this issue is important to you. In addition, there's a statement put out by the USG of Peacekeeping Operations, and I'll show you that really quickly because it sets the stage for a lot of what we will be talking about in Agra in just a few weeks. Because this is a speech, it's relatively easy to read because it reads as if he was speaking to you. So this is another, and it's not too long. It's a great document that gives a lot of historical context and a lot of priorities that the UN has with regard to this issue. So I would urge you, and it is relatively recent, I'd urge you to take a look at this document in addition to all of the other ones that I've posted here. Again, Catherine and I will get this document out to you in this format so you can have the links available to you. But I'd like to reiterate that they are in the actual report that's published online in the further research section. But again, we'll get it out so that you have these slides available to you. That's really all that I have for you guys. If you have questions for me, again, ask me here in the group chat. And my email is on the WIMUN page, so feel free to shoot me a message. I will be checking my email constantly before arriving in India. So if you have any questions, let me know, and I can get back to you quickly because I know that position paper research can be complicated, especially for those who aren't necessarily as familiar with research and with forming opinions for their countries. So please do reach out. I'm here to help you, and I'm really looking forward to being there with you and guiding you through the process. So, Catherine, if there's anything else, let me know. But that's all the information that I have. I don't see any questions on the side group chat. But again, definitely let me know. Shoot me a message via the email, and I will get back to you really quickly. And I can't wait. Shukriya, as they say.
Thank you so much, Gadi. And we'll have this available on YouTube and via email for all of you delegates. And again, as Gadi said, any additional questions after the call can be directed to ga4.wimun.india@gmail.com. And Gadi will be happy to answer anything that comes up between now and conference. So we look forward to speaking with you soon and seeing you in Agra. Thanks.
Thank you.